G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make this square bottom beach bag. You could also use it as a market bag. You can adjust the size very easily. You can also adjust the depth of the bag very easily as well. The bottom of the bag is made using a solid granny square, and then we continue with the sides of the bag. You will have little bits that poke it out the sides, but once you have items in your bag, it will give you lots and lots of room to put all your items. You could use it as a beach bag, you could take it to the grocery store to use for groceries, and you could also use it as a project bag to put in all your crochet or knitting items. So thank you for watching, and let's get started on the lesson. I used 1.5 balls of these. It is 8 ply, which is equivalent to double knit in the UK or sports weight in the US. It is a 100 gram ball, and I think it is about 283 meters. So that will give you an idea on how much yarn that you need. So 100 grams is 3.5. Can you see that fly? It's huge. Ooh, get away. 100 grams is 3.5 ounces. My front door's open, that's why that fly just came in. Anyway, on with the video. We're going to be using a 4.5mm crochet hook. Normally it recommends a 4mm, but I'm going to use a 4.5 for this one. And this crochet hook was supplied by Moonshadow Threads. I will put her link in the description box below the video. These hooks are really nice too. They're really nice to hold, nice and light and comfortable as well. And not to mention, super cute. So that's the yarn we're going to use. You can use worsted weight. Of course, your project will grow a lot quicker if you use worsted weight. 8 ply is equivalent to double knit or sports weight yarn. I do have some worsted weight yarn sitting right here, so that is the difference in the thickness. Quite a bit. Some 8 plies can be quite thin as well, and as you know, some worsted weights can be quite thick. So what we need to do to complete our project is go to the video where we learned to make this square. That was my practice piece. So follow this video and that will show you how to make the solid granny square. And this is the basic pattern for our bag that we're going to make. So what you need to do, get rid of that one, and you need to make your bag. I'm just going to measure mine. I think it's about 12 inches. Oh, what a guess. Not bad. 12 inches or about 30 centimeters wide. Like I said, you can use worsted weight or you can use 8 ply yarn. You can use any yarn you like. The bigger that we make the base of our bag, which is this bit, I can't even fit it all in the camera. The bigger we make the base, the bigger the bag is going to come out. So I'm basing this one on 12 inches. So follow that video, get your bag or your base, your square, up to 12 inches, and then come back here and I'm going to show you what to do next to start creating your bag. First of all, I have to untie myself. This yarn is in a big knot. So for mine I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows, and that's in 8 ply, which is equivalent to double knit or sports weight, and a 4.5mm hook. If you're using worsted weight, can someone put a comment in the comment boxes, and I can put a little annotation on the screen here to let people know how big it's going to come out or how many rows I've got to do. I haven't actually used worsted weight for this project yet. So we're going to finish over in the corner. Remember how we finished just over in them 2 stitches there? So we're going to, oh, I've actually done it, so I'll just pull that out there. We're going to join our work into the chain 3. Which I didn't do. Into the chain 3, there it is. And then we have to remember slip stitch across into the next stitch. Let's just zoom that in a bit for you. There we go. And then we're going to slip stitch into that stitch so that we're starting out of our corner. And now what we want to do is, you can grab 4 pieces of scrap yarn. So grabbing my scissors. Now you can use stitch markers for this also. So this is just an odd bit. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I said, you could use stitch markers as well. My 4th one, here it is. Look like little carrot sticks. So now what we're going to do is, it doesn't matter how many rows you've done or how many stitches you have across, we are going to count evenly across. So we go, like you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 and keep going until you've left with 2 stitches. So I'm just going to quickly count how many I've got off there, across there, and I'll come back. So I've counted in from each side 23 times. So from here across 23 stitches, and the same from here across 23 stitches, and I'm left with those 2 stitches there. You are going to grab your stitch marker or your carrot sticks, and you are going to place it. This might be easier if you have a hook. We're going to put it through here and through the next one as well. So it might be easier with a piece of yarn, or you could just fold them together to put your stitch marker in. So on this side you're going to have the same amount as what you have on this side, and then you're going to have these 2 little stitches. I'm going to tie a knot there just so it doesn't fall out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn it around, and we're going to do exactly the same across here and tie one in the middle. So go and do all 4 sides, and then we will start the next step. Alrighty, so I've put my carrot sticks in, 1, 2, 3, 4, marked the centre stitches. Did you have all yours even? I did. I was quite shocked actually. I thought it was at least going to be 1 stitch missing, but I didn't. I got them all correct. If you have found that you've got to here and you're like, uh-oh, I missed a stitch somewhere, get it as close as you can, really. Or if you can, maybe pull back the row and add a stitch or take a stitch out, whatever you've got to do. But if you concentrated on getting that very first stitch that I said that hides, you should have all the same amount. So hang on, I'm just going to connect you back to the tripod. Ew. So these stitch markers are going to help us to remember where to skip the stitches. We are going to be skipping the 2 stitches that we just marked. That will make perfect sense when we get to it. So for the rest of the other bit of the project, down the straight bit here in the corners is exactly the same. We're chaining up 3, going into the corner space, doing our double crochet, chain 2, doing our double crochet, So it's 2 double crochets in the corner. We're now going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch, but not the one that's marked, so stop just before it. So I'm going to remind you to do this one here, because we've still got to get that first one for the rest of the bag, and 1 double crochet until you get to the stitch before the marked stitch. Okay, so I'm coming up to my stitch marker, and did I say stop in that stitch before the stitch marker? Please forgive me, I meant to say the stitch that's 2 before the stitch marker, because what we're going to do is we're going to skip the 2 stitches that are here, but also the ones that's either side of it too. Now I said only use 4 stitch markers, otherwise we're going to have stitch markers everywhere, and you may not want to chop up 8 bits of wool, and you may not have 8 stitch markers. So we're going to skip that one, skip the 2 that's marked, skip the next one, and go into there. So you're skipping 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and going into the 5th. Now make sure you have a bit of tension on this one. You want to keep that nice and tight. We don't want that to loosen up in there. We want this bit to be nice and tight, because look what happens if we don't. I'm just loose and I'm not paying attention, and we get this big ugly hole. You don't want that. Do not want that. So you want to just, I mean, don't strangle the poor thing, but 1, 2, 3, 4, going into the 5th. Bit of tension. See how there's a bit of tension on that? Just for that stitch, and that will keep that nice and tight. And then we're going to double crochet across until we get to our corner space. And by skipping these stitches here, it's going to make the bag go into a V shape, and this will start to create the sides of the bag. So double crochet across until you get to your corner space. Once we get to our corner space, we're going to work our corner, so it's 2 double crochets. Oops, sorry guys, I'm a bit tangled here, hang on. It's highly unprofessional. So we've got 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, now my yarn's getting stuck. It's all going on. And then 2 double crochets. And then we're going to not forget that little stitch at the beginning there. We're going to double crochet across until we get to 2 stitches before the stitch marker. So keep going across until we get to 2 stitches before. So we've got our marked stitches here. We're going to skip the ones either side of it as well, so skipping that one, that one, that one, and that one, so it's 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, double crochet into the 5th one, keeping tension on your yarn. If you're a tight crocheter, you may not have to worry about that, but I'm got quite loose tension, so I have to just keep an eye on it. Get out of the way, you. So we double crocheting until we get to the corner space. You should have picked up the pattern by now. So it's 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the corner. When we get to our next stitch marker, we will repeat the same there, skipping the 4 stitches, and keep going. You've got 2 more to go. Actually, we've only got, yes, 2 more to go after this one, and then I'll meet you at the beginning of the next row. So where we've skipped those 4 stitches, it's created a section that is trying to pull up like a V, and that's what we want, because we want the sides of our bag to pull up. So when we get to the end, we are going to join into the 3rd chain, going under both loops, and we're going to slip stitch across into the chain 2 space. Chain up 3, double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, and then work 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space. So your corners stay the same throughout the pattern. And what we're going to do now is we're going to crochet across until we get near our stitch markers. Now you can take your stitch markers out now if you want to. You can leave them there if that's going to remind you that that's when we need to skip our stitches. And what we do is, how we skipped 4 stitches on that row here, we're going to skip 4 stitches here as well. So crochet across, leaving the last 2 stitches empty, stopping at the 3rd last stitch. So that's where the hole is. We've got these 2 last stitches, and I've crocheted up to that 3rd stitch before the hole. So these 2 stitches and these 2 stitches we're going to skip. So we're working a double crochet, we're going to skip that one, that one, that one, and that one. So that's the 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the next one we're going to work our double crochet. Now remember what I said about keeping tension so that we don't create that big ugly hole. We're going to create this hole, but we don't want that one up there, yucky. And then we're going to double crochet across. And the row that we're working now is the row that we're going to repeat all the way until you have the height of your bag. Now because I haven't made this bag before, and this is one of those videos where I'm making it up as I go along, I don't know how much I'm going to do, but in the next video clip, and if it's not the next video clip, it won't be too far along the video, you will see how long I've gone with my bag, and I'll tell you how many rows I did as well. Don't forget I'm using 8 ply, which is equivalent to double knit and sports weight yarn. Just going to leave the camera going till I get to the corner. So when we work our corner stitch, it's exactly the same as the rest. 2 double crochets, all in the same space, chain 2, and 2 double crochets in that same space. Now I shouldn't need to tell you what you need to do in your corners from now on, because you've done so many that you probably already know. So we're going to crochet across until we get to here, and we're going to we're going to stop 3 stitches before the hole. So we're not going to do those ones, we're going to stop here. So we're going to skip the 2 stitches before the gap, and then skip those 2 stitches and double crochet into that one there. So skip 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th stitch. You're going to work your double crochet, make sure it's tight so that we don't get that ugly gap, and then double crochet until you get to your corner. And your corners are exactly the same as what we've been doing, and then when you get to your next section where there's a gap, you're skipping those 4 stitches and continuing on to your next corner. So you're going to repeat this row until you have the length of your bag. And in the next video, I'll show you how much I've done. So happy crochet until we get to that spot. Once we have the depth of the bag that we want, and I'm only making this quite small, I've got it quite wide, but I don't want it really deep. So once we've got the height of the bag that you want, I've still got my stitch markers in there, as you can see, and I've finished off at the top here. I finished off my row. And what we're going to do is lay the bag together. And actually, we are going to lay it, this is going to be fun, one-handed. Okay, struggling here, hang on 1 second. I couldn't do it with the camera on the tripod because I just found my big needle I was looking for. That's why I couldn't flatten it out, it was pinned. Because look, I've been using this silly little thing with a tiny little hole, and I've just found my big one. Yeehaw. Anyway, back to what was going on. It was just pinned together like that, and I couldn't spread the bag out. So we're going to put the section where we finished off the round, we're going to put that on the right hand side. If you're a left hand crochet, put it on the left hand side, because what we're going to do is we are going to make chains, chain, and then crochet down this side. Then we're going to make chains for the other handle, and we'll show you how to do that. So lay your bag flat. Now it is going to puff out. See how it's got these puffed out bits here? That's because the bag is square, but when you put items in your bag, it's going to give you a really big fat bottom. So that's great. Alrighty, so I'm going to put you back on the tripod, and then we can get started on our handles. Now your handles will depend on how you want them, how big you want them, and how long you want them. Now this bag is reasonably short in depth, so it's not very deep, this bag. Excuse me. So what we're going to do, we've joined our bag. We want to slip stitch over until we get to here. So we're going to slip stitch in here. Slip stitch into the chain space. And we are going to make our chains. Now I suggest counting your chains and writing that number down, because you want to get it exactly the same on the other side. Now I cannot count and talk at the same time, so I'm going to count them after. So what you're going to do is you're just basically making chains. And then you're going to go to the other side of your bag. So again, this is really hard to show you on camera. We started making our chains over here. So our bag sits like that. It's got the 2 V's, it's got the 2 points, and then it's got this bit that comes down. So we're going to skip that bit, we're going to make a chain all the way to reach over here, and that chain is going to be your handle. Of course we're going to crochet over it, but that's how much you want. So I'm going to do my chains and then I'll show you what I'm up to. So I've made my chains, and this is where we started over here. We go down the valley and then up to the next peak, and we will be joining into the top there. So we're just joining with a slip stitch. Then we're going to break off our yarn. Now this is my take 2 for my handles, because I just filmed about 20 minutes of handles and they didn't actually work. So that's no good. So what we need to do is is cut our yarn. And don't worry, we don't have to sew these ends in, because we can crochet over these as we come back around. So we're going to secure that one down. So we've got one handle. Because when I did the other versions that I just ripped out, the rows didn't add up. Like it kind of, it's hard to describe, but it just didn't work. And we don't want handles that don't work, do we? So I will get you off the tripod so I can show you. Got the bag laid down, tripod, phone on silent so it doesn't ring during the videos. So I'll just move that forward. That's the one that we just did. So now we will be attaching our yarn here, making another chain. The same length, so the same amount that you did. Look, X marks the spot. That was to remind me to do something. Because I know I was going to forget to do it, so I put a cross on my hand. Yep, I'm a bit crazy that way. So, make your chain. Yep, we've done that. And we need to make our other one. So we're going to join our yarn in here. If you're left-handed and you actually can follow this video, you're going to join it over on this side. On the left-hand side. So if you're right-handed, over here. So I'll just put you back. I did actually wash my hands before I made this video, but obviously didn't do it good enough, because my X marks the spot is still there. Alright, so going into the bit there, grabbing our yarn. I don't really like to cut off the yarn and join in and carry on. I really don't like doing that, but it just won't work any other way. I'm sure there is another way to do it, but this is the way I'm going to do it. So we are going to keep chaining, and we are going to chain the amount that we did for the other handle. So my chains were 70. Of course, you chain the amount that you need to do. So I'll catch up to you then. So after you've made your second lot of chains, I highly recommend making sure it's the same length as the other one. Because if you were interrupted when you were counting, you know, the kids have asked you a question, or there's something nice, good to watch on TV, or, you know, it's easy to get interrupted and lose count, you want to make sure they're the same length. Because you don't want to finish off your handle and then go, uh-oh, one is shorter than the other. So what we're going to do is join in the peaks. So we joined our yarn over this side, we've gone down into the valley and over, and we're joining into the other peak. So going into the corner chain space there, and we will join with a slip stitch. So now we will be working single crochet. Now you can use half double crochet if you want to, but excuse me, I think that the single crochet is going to work better, because it's a smaller stitch, it's going to bring it in a little bit tighter, which I think will make the sides of the bag look nicer. They're not going to stretch out and look really baggy and yucky. Alrighty, so what we're going to do is we're going to chain one, and we are going to find a stitch marker if you've got one handy. You can use, I had one somewhere, here it is. You can use a piece of yarn, or I've just got like a bobby pin hair clip thingy. You can use that, or you could even use a professional stitch marker, because that's what they're for. And we will be single crocheting in every stitch around. So going into each single crochet, geez, get with the program, so we don't yarn over. I was making a project with half double crochet, so I keep going to do half double crochet. Anyway, that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So single crochet all the way around. When you get to the, what do we call it? The valley, the bottom of the valley, let me just bear with me guys, I'm not going to cut the camera out, I'm just going to crochet across. can't make too many video clips because I can't combine them all together. My software has a bit of a conniption. It won't let me join them all together. So see how we've got, that's where we did, like, we skipped the stitches. What we're going to do is we're going to go to there, and there's 2 that are down the bottom there. We can work a single crochet decrease. So going into the stitch, pulling up a loop, you've got 2. Go into the next stitch, pulling up a loop, you've got 3. Yarn over and pull through all 3. So you can do that, or you could just work one single crochet in each stitch. It's up to you, but I think because we did the skipping the stitches here, we should really keep with that pattern. So now we're going to single crochet until we get to the start of the next handle. So I'm up to the start of the next handle. Oops, sorry, just knocked the camera. And there's 2 ways of doing the bit in our handle. We can crochet into, so that's my handle, see this? It's my handle. We can crochet into there, and this is working around the chain. And then do our stitch. So you would work the amount of chain, the amount of chains that you did, you would work that amount of single crochets into there. Or what you can do, so you can do this either way. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. We can crochet into the chain like we do normally, but when I do my chains I normally go just on 1 loop at the top, but I found if you go through 2, so I'm going to try and show you the best way I can. Going into the stitch, see how there's 1 chain on the bottom, there's 1 loop, then on the top there should be 2. Yep, here we go. So this has 2 loops, one where my fingernail is and this one here. We're going to then do our single crochet, and what that does is stops this chain from getting really big. I'll show you what I mean. Do a few of them through both loops, and then this next one I'll show you just through the 1 loop. So just picking up 1 loop like that, and then working your single crochet. We can already see what it does. It makes this ugly hole, and I don't like it. So we pick up that other loop as well. There we go. And then crochet. It might be a little bit stretched, but you can see already it's a lot better than that, gaping hole. That looks terrible. Okay, so work that around the whole of your chain or the handle section of your bag, and then I'll meet up with you when we get back to the bag section. So I've just worked my last stitch on my chain, and we're back to the section of the bag, and we're going to have one of our tails there. So what we can do is we lay our tail across the top like so. Of course, if you've already sewn it in, or you prefer to sew in your crochet rather than crocheting over it, then you're more than welcome to do that as well. What I'm going to do is crochet over it because that's what I do. That's how I roll. So first stitch, we are single crocheting in there. And we're just single crocheting all the way around. And see how that tail is getting trapped? I'm just moving it up a little bit so it's out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. Moving it again. It's getting trapped in the work. So we will just keep doing this and repeat what we did when we get to the valley, how we did our single crochet 2 together. And then we will come up to another chain handle and we will just repeat exactly what we did with the last one, single crocheting into every stitch or working into the chain, however you did your last handle. And I'll meet up with you when we get back to the stitch marker. So we have crocheted both handles and around the sides of our bag. And we are back to our stitch marker. So take that out. Then we will slip stitch into that first stitch, which is where our stitch marker was. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our round. So if you want to add more, which I am going to because my handles are very, very skinny. If you've used worsted weight, they might be a lot thicker, but this is only about 1 centimetre or 1/4 of an inch wide, so that's not very wide. So if you want to add more rows, this is what we have to do. And it's exactly the same for every row, so I will not be showing you every row. You will chain 1. You will single crochet in every stitch around. And when you come back to the beginning, I might actually put that stitch marker back so that I don't forget where I started. Putting in that first stitch there. And then so we're going to single crochet around that way, and when we come back we will slip stitch to join. I am going to work one more round, see what that looks like. I may even work a 3rd round, so I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure how wide it's going to be and what it's going to look like. So single crochet all the way, and I'll meet up with you when we are finished that point there. I decided just to work 2 rounds when we worked the handles, and this is my finished bag. I'm really happy with this, and it's actually turned out bigger than what I thought it was going to. Once the items are in your bag, it stretches a little bit, so I was quite impressed with that. I thought it was going to be a little bit too small, but once the items are in, it's actually really big. So thanks for watching, guys. I would love to see your version of your creation. You can share it on our Facebook page. There is a link below in the description box. You can also email me a copy of a photo that you've taken of your bag, or I would absolutely love a video response as well. My email address is also in the description box below. And also, if I have a written pattern that goes with any of my videos, the link to that written pattern will be in the description box as well. Whenever you watch one of my videos, there's lots of information in the more info box below the video. So thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crochet!